there'll be people that like, they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah.
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back.
Maybe even more reasonably, he's just kind of run selfishly this whole time, and he never really cared about our well-being. I don't know that he did, because none of the actions have shown me differently. His words did. I was excited about his appointment. RFK, I was like, yo, they could fix the food. He was saying this and that. I was like, hey, man, I think this could work out. None of it has happened. None of it has happened.
Yeah.
America's foremost political journalist, Andrew Schulz, has finally realized that he was duped. And it's perfect. Watching Andy and the Toy Story boys sitting around looking confused as to how this could have happened is ironically some of the funniest shit I've seen on Flagrant in a while. Remember, this is the guy who, over the past year, deliberately repositioned himself and his podcast around this whole independent political commentator grift. After Rogan swallowed Elon's Musk, Schulz wasted absolutely no time in jumping on the bandwagon, believing that this time was different. Trump was serious. He was going to drain the swamp, release the Epstein client list, and finally expose the deep state. Schulz even had him on the podcast where he had his people change up the set a little, make it all nice and cozy, and then proceeded to ask a total of 0 questions about Epstein or the list, and why he didn't release the files in his first administration. Instead, Schulz smiled and nodded while he ate up Trump's aura and hyped the idea that this was all about to happen, that Trump was finally going to deliver the goods. But now, after Trump told the whole nation to collectively shut the fuck up about the Epstein files, Schulz's audience has turned on him. Why didn't you guys ask Trump directly about his involvement with Epstein when Trump was on your show? Not only did you vote for this, you helped campaign for it. Imagine carrying water for this administration, then acting shocked when you find out they lied to you. Who was the president when Epstein unalived? Who was friends with him for years and years? Schulz still believes in Trump. Trump is one of them. They played us once again, and we fell for it once again. Trying to defend Trump at this point puts you in the cult. Round of applause for Flagrant. You all fucking campaigned for this. You are the guys who had Trump on your show and laughed your asses off with him. Sometimes the laughter needs to stop. Crazy how much Schulz deflects from Trump, refusing any negative light every turn. Remember when Andrew said it's not cool to be a Democrat right now? Yeah, man, you look so freaking cool right now. This is your guy, Andrew. I like Schulz, but let's be honest, he's a confident idiot. He literally helped Trump get elected. You voted for this and helped make it happen, Andrew. And that's exactly the point here. Schulz didn't just fall for Trump privately, he helped market the idea that Trump would finally pull back the curtain and reveal the Epstein files. The worst part is, though, that Schulz still can't admit that he fucked up. Because as you've probably already seen, Trump isn't just failing to deliver, he's openly mocking these guys now. Trump even just doubled down on Truth Social, dismissing the whole Epstein discourse as a waste of time, ridiculing his so-called friends for even asking about it, and said Epstein was somebody that nobody cares about anymore. Hey Schultzy, he's talking about you, bro. And so even when confronted with that reality, Schulz, well, let's just say he still doesn't quite understand that he's been duped. Instead, what we get from him and his crew is pure cope, a masterclass in influencer mental gymnastics as they try to justify, explain, and rationalize why their guy, the guy who helped rebrand their entire show around, is now treating them like fools.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't like answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February.
So we're stupid.
Yeah.
We're the idiots, guys. Just to let you know, we're wasting
look at
time.
us.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point.
That is, like, in all seriousness, that is, I think, what is enraging people right now is it's insulting our intelligence. Like, obviously, the intelligence community is trying to cover it up. Obviously, the Trump administration is trying to cover up. Something changed because they ran on this idea of exposing it all. All these guys had great ideas. Cockeyed Cash, Dan Bongino.
He had clips, dog. He had bars.
He was ready to tear it all down. He was ready to tear down the entire FBI office.
Shut down the Hoover building day one.
Day one.
Them bitch still standing.
And then he goes on Joe Rogan and he's like, listen, do you think if I had it, I wouldn't share it with you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I do believe that 100%, especially when you're staring at me like this, telling me that.
So after that moment, after Trump publicly dismisses Epstein as irrelevant and Schulz and the flagrant crew half realize that they're the fucking idiots, Schulz does exactly what you'd expect. He pivots. He doesn't confront the fact that he helped to build this narrative. He doesn't acknowledge that he himself spent the better part of a year hyping Trump as the man who was finally going to release the Epstein files and deliver the transparency that all these legacy media outlets supposedly couldn't. Instead, Schulz immediately reframes the whole thing as a matter of tone, as if what's really bothering people is simply how dismissive Trump sounded at that press conference. But this is where it gets beautiful, because Schulz can't even see that it isn't just Trump insulting their intelligence, it's so much worse for him than that, because Schulz is implicated in this shit show now too. The reason his audience is now turning on him isn't because they're suddenly shocked that Trump didn't follow through. It's because Schulz spent the last year positioning himself as the guy who knew better, as the independent thinker who had outgrown comedy and become something more serious, something smarter. I mean, how many times have we had to sit through epiphany after epiphany about the simplest shit most of us had figured out back in high school? But when he finally got Trump across the table, he didn't ask about Epstein, he didn't push back on anything substantive, he didn't challenge Trump on any of the contradictions. He smiled, nodded, licked it all up, and asked for more like a good boy. And even now, even after surviving this whole humiliation ritual, he still can't quite admit that he was part of the con.
Maybe I'm wrong on this, but you keep talking about this Epstein. They keep talking about this Epstein list. I got the list on my desk. Now they're saying nothing happened. So one of two things in my mind is possible. One, you're covering it up, or two, nothing really happened and you exploited the rape of thousands of children to get your man elected. So which one do you want here? Because that one to me sounds just as bad, if not worse.
This is where things get even funnier, because instead of sitting there in that studio and accepting what has just happened, that Trump has blown them off, that the Epstein list was never coming, that this entire narrative they've wrapped themselves in has imploded, Schulz and the flagrant crew immediately started performing the exact routine we've seen from the podcaster ecosystem over and over again when they get caught with their pants down and their dicks in their hands. They don't admit fault, they don't acknowledge that they hyped all of this, they don't sit in the reality that they were duped. Instead, they pull out the mental gymnastics, because the best move in this situation is to continue to act like you're smarter and more independent than your average viewer. So what do? They start asking the questions they should have asked years ago. Maybe there's a cover-up. Maybe there's some dark national security reason why Trump had to walk this back. Maybe it's all a 4D chess move and they just don't have the clearance to understand it yet. Anything to avoid admitting that Trump simply used them and the Epstein list was never gonna get released.
So what does covering it up mean?
Either there's an intelligence operation that's happening within the United States that is aiding and abetting the exploitation of children. It's not great. Our taxpayer dollars go to this in some type of CIA black budget. So we're now complicit in this thing, but it's for the greater good of America.
Right.
So we kind of are like, oh, fine. Or Trump is implicated in some direct way because obviously he knew Jeffrey Epstein from back in the day, or both of those things.
So let's talk about these two scenarios. But let's say it is an intelligence operation, like you just said, that our taxpayer dollars are going towards the and abuse of. Do they have this conversation with Cash, Bongino, Trump, and the administration and basically go, what do you want to do, guys?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the entire country that the CIA and potentially the FBI, that our organizations were doing this and that we're in on this and this is how ugly we are? What will that mean for the rest of the world? How will the rest of the world view us? What are we capable of? We're supposed to be the good guys. We're supposed to be heroes. What is the collateral damage of sharing this with the world? Do you think they share that information with Trump?
You would imagine that in order to keep the files from coming out, it's got to go all the way to the top, is my assumption. Unless there's some type of like hidden agreement where it's like, hey, we're going to protect him from information so that he doesn't sound crazy and he can just kind of run with whatever the mainstream narrative is. But the fact that his tune is even switched up leads me to believe that he has some info.
He knows something. So the reason he knows it because he's like, we're gonna showcase, we're gonna talk about this guy. They ran on it. They ran on cleaning out the swamp. They ran on all these.
They brought all the influencers, gave them all binders with all the that was all redacted.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
They tried to promote this. Like they were building this excitement up for us to just get, I don't know, what is it? What is the term? Like the wind taken out of our sails?
Yeah.
Whatever. So the fact that his tune has changed from, hey, let's have a social media moment with the binders to, you guys are still talking about this guy? Yeah, we're talking about it because of you.
Yeah.
You're the one that keeps the conversation going when you hand out the binders to the social media influencers.
Yep.
You're the one that keeps the conversation going when you're...
FBI director goes on podcast and says nothing happened. He killed himself. Yep.
Okay. So it has to go to him. Especially for him to go, why are you guys still talking about this? Because you wanted us to talk about it.
Yeah.
You promoted it.
Yeah.
That has to be the biggest slap in the face to his audience I've ever seen. Schulz has a history of this, though. It's right up there with screwing over all his fans who paid for his special, only for him to release it on YouTube for free a few weeks later. A move so typically Andrew Schulz that he even bragged about it on his podcast after it all went down. He literally dropped a podcast where he bragged about how much money he made from his comedy special, and his fans ate it up and asked for more. Sort of makes you think. Maybe they kind of deserved it, And here he is again, caught in real time, realizing that Trump's promises around Epstein were exactly the same kind of transaction. And Schulz helped sell that fantasy. He positions himself and Flagrant as the place where this narrative would get broken down with nuance and insight, where you'd get real talk about Epstein, not just noise from the mainstream media. Meanwhile, Trump was playing them all along, dangling the Epstein list as bait and then discarding it as soon as shit started to get real, and everyone kept asking the same questions. And instead of calling that out for what it is, Schulz retreats into even more speculation, spinning up increasingly convoluted explanations for why Trump has now abandoned them. Seriously, the mental gymnastics in this episode was next level. I honestly can't wait to see if Rogan outdoes them this week.
Alex Acosta said on record, we have this on record. Alex Acosta was, I think, at the time, the district attorney in Palm Beach?
Yeah, Miami, Palm Beach. Something.
Yeah, but he said, he was the guy who gave the sweetheart deal to Epstein. He said, I did it because I was told he was intelligence.
I was told to back off.
Because he was intelligence. That is said. That you cannot wipe that clean from the record. Yeah. That has been said by I don't want to say trusted source, but a source that is reliable and knows the weight of their words. Yeah. To me, I think that's where we can have some confidence that he does have connections to the intelligence community.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So bare minimum, there's connections. Maximum, this is this like massive blackmail ring. It's not only blackmail. They've inserted themselves in governments. They've inserted themselves in royal family. They've inserted themselves in like American intelligentsia, the highest levels of our universities. Like this is everywhere. Trump either is told that if we release the details on this, it will destroy confidence in America at home and abroad.
Yeah.
Because what country runs a child blackmail ring on its own people? Yeah, like what would the collateral damage of that be? How would we react to that? What if we found out our alphabet agencies were doing that? Like,
yeah, it wouldn't be ideal.
The thing I don't get is that what new information happened, because Trump's first 4 years, this is when he got locked up. This is when he would have been told already.
That's also true, yeah.
That, hey, he's intelligence, this can compromise us, don't release it. So
and
then
then
why
he
would you
continues to run on it?
Then
That's
why
true.
run on this?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
there is a version where it's like, what is it? It's like a mutual assured destruction.
Yeah.
So it is nukes on everybody. So therefore, they're like, we could go after Trump with this, but by exposing Trump as part of this thing, it might expose all the other people or confirm that it is an actual blackmail ring. And once it's confirmed that it is an actual blackmail ring, we got to see how far this goes. Yeah. So there's a version of this where he is involved, right? That's not completely clean just yet. He is involved. To what extent, we do not know. But it's not like the most absurd thing, right? Like the guy was partying with Epstein,
I think, yeah.
right? So
His name was in the black book.
I think Trump's fucked a hooker or two in his life. That wouldn't be like the most shocking thing to ever hear, right?
Yeah.
Now, is he asking for ID every single time? I don't know. And that's that's probably the name of the game, right? It's like you get the girls that are 16 or whatever to go, and then the guys aren't asking questions, you f them, and now you got it all on video.
Schulz is saying this now. He's finally realizing that Trump's probably on the list, that the reason Trump won't release the Epstein files might just be because Trump himself is implicated. Honestly, for America's foremost political journalist, Andrew Schulz fucking sucks. This is like having a child explain to you that Santa Claus isn't real, or that Jake Paul's fights might actually be rigged in his favor. This is Andrew Schulz's big investigative breakthrough after spending a year rebranding his podcast around becoming a political journalist. Wait a minute, guys. Maybe he's just not releasing the list because he's on it. Incredible work, Schulze. That's a Pulitzer Prize worth epiphany right there. It's the dawning realization that everyone else figured out from day one, while Schulz sat there in front of Trump, smiling, nodding, hyping up the same tired influencer rhetoric about draining the swamp, and never asking a single substantive question along the way. And what makes this even funnier is that you can feel Schulz is trying to pretend that there's some nuanced revelation here. He presents it as if it's this edgy, uncomfortable truth, like he's the brave one for finally suggesting it out loud, even though people had been saying this from the beginning and he just laughed it off and called them haters. But here's the best part. Even as Schulz starts to say the quiet part out loud, he can't let it end there, because admitting that Trump conned them would mean admitting that Flagrant's entire rebrand was built on nothing, that this entire act as the edgy comedian turned serious commentator was a grift, that his audience was right all along when they continually trolled him in the comment section. So instead of sitting with that realization, what does Schulz do? He leans right back into speculation mode, gearing up for one last desperate pivot to protect the Flagrant brand from total collapse. This is the moment where Schulz and his den of dick riders slide seamlessly from admitting that maybe Trump's on the list back into their conspiracy cope, where they argue that maybe Trump isn't at fault after all, because maybe the CIA actually runs the entire country. Of course, because it can't just be that Trump lied, right?
Trump is compromised.
So
Would be-
Trump's
would be
compromised.
another scenario.
Let's go through. There's another scenario. Let's assume Trump isn't compromised, but the intelligence communities come to him and they basically say, "This is us. This is what we do. There are a lot of people here that are going to go down if you out this, and the reality is you're not going to out this." And I would like to take this a little further. There's a version where the intelligence community comes in, they go, "You don't really run the country. You get to make a lot of decisions, and that's fine. But you look the other way at the things we do, and we look the other way at the things you do. And then once the things you do cross paths with the things that we do, we remind you that you don't really run the country." The idea that like we have a new person running the country every 4 years or 8 years, and they plot the course of America for the next 300 is kind of absurd, right? Like there has to be some version of permanent government. Obviously, it's not established, and they're not like speaking about it, they're not shining a light on it. But like there must be some version of this permanent government that like maintains the course and does f***ed up shit to maintain the course, just like every other country that's run as a dictatorship does f***ed up shit to maintain the course. So it wouldn't be shocking to me that that happened. Maybe he's involved, maybe he's not involved, but he could have had a conversation. They could have come up to him and be like, "You know, we missed on purpose, right?" Like they could have sat him down in a room and be like, "You know, we missed on purpose, right?" He goes, "What?" He goes, "The guy who had the perfect shot on you from 100 meters away or whatever, like we missed on purpose. You didn't look at a fucking sign. Looking at the sign got you closer, but we missed on purpose. And we won't the next time unless you tell people to look the other way about this Epstein shit." To me, I would not be surprised at all if the CIA and the FBI actually are running the country.
Hang on. Wasn't that the entire point of draining the swamp? Wasn't that exactly what Trump ran on? The whole premise was that he was the outsider, the guy who wasn't controlled by the deep state, the guy who wasn't afraid to go after the elites, the guy who wasn't compromised, and now we're watching Schulz and his crew try to rationalize Trump's failure by saying, well, maybe the intelligence agencies really run everything and Trump can't do anything about it. That's fucking wild. Because if that's your explanation now, that Trump is powerless, that presidents don't really run the country, that the CIA and FBI are the real government, then what exactly were you selling your audience for the last year? What was all that posturing for? What was all the hype about? Rogan positioned himself the same way. The independent thinker, the guy who couldn't be bought, the guy who gave Trump his platform precisely because Trump was supposed to be outside that system. But now that Trump has turned around and not only failed to deliver, but doubled down and mocked them for ever believing he would. What do? They double down as well. They twist themselves into knots explaining why it's all part of some bigger plan, why Trump isn't really to blame, why he's just a victim of forces too powerful for any president to overcome. And the best part, Trump himself is the one dismissing them now. After all that support, after all that campaigning disguised as commentary, Trump is openly telling guys like Schulz and Rogan to keep quiet and move on. That's what makes this collapse so fucking funny. Not just that Schulz and Flagrant got duped, but that they helped sell the con to their own audience and spent the last year turning their podcast into a marketing channel for politicians. And now Trump himself has discarded them like the useful idiots they were all along. I find myself saying this in almost every video I make these days, but this shit is seriously so fucking predictable at this point that the script writes itself. But anyway, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right here, then head over to my second channel, Podcast Cringe Bites, and subscribe there as well so you don't miss out on my uploads throughout the week. Also, don't forget to hit the link in the description to my Patreon where you'll find all my uncensored, long-form content covering Rogan, Kill Tony, and everything in between. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
All right, so what are we thinking about this? Is it
It's a disappointing day, dude.
It is disappointing. Do we ever find out? Is there ever any closure on this? Is there ever?
No.
It's close.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's
another
Kennedy.
JFK. Yep.
This is JFK.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.